Every season, there's that one player, the one no one talks about until it's too late. He doesn't make the headlines or the highlights, but ask anyone who's ever played against him, and they'll tell you, he's a problem, a game breaker, the kind of guy you only start to fear when he's already ruined your entire game plan. You only hear his name at halftime. That's when opposing fans start scanning the lineups, trying to figure out who's doing all the damage. Announcers start checking stats, and by the final whistle, everyone watching knows one thing. There's a new force disrupting the NFL from a position most people ignore. And guess what? He's wearing our colors. And now, the rest of the league is finally starting to take notice. But as they scramble to catch up, here's exactly why his role is about to change, and how that shift could unleash the scariest version of our defense we've seen in years. Stick around, because what comes next could be the piece that turns playoff potential around. Be sure to hit that like button and I'll give you all the details. Come along! There's a name echoing through the NFL's quieter corners, a name that used to fly under the radar but now hits like a freight train, and Falcons fans, it's someone wearing our red and black. You may think of Jesse Bates, you may think of A.J. Terrell when talking about the stars on Atlanta's defense, but today, we're talking about a wrecking ball with a linebacker's build and a pass rusher's instinct, Kaden Elliss. Picture this, it's late in the second quarter. The opposing quarterback's been rattled twice already. They thought they had Atlanta figured out. Cover Bates, stay away from Terrell, and you should be fine. Then out of nowhere, comes number 55 flying off the second level like a missile. That's Elliss. Opposing fans watch from the stands or their living rooms wondering, who the hell is this guy and why is he wrecking our offense? And if you've been paying attention the last 2 seasons, especially in the NFC South, you already know Kaden Elliss is no secret weapon anymore. He's a full-blown headache, and ESPN just confirmed it. Bill Barnwell of ESPN released a feature on the league's top 11 specialized players, and Elliss claimed a title Falcons fans should be proud of, best blitzing off-ball linebacker in the NFL. That's not hyperbole. That's analytics-backed recognition. Let's break it down. First off, what does that even mean, blitzing off-ball linebacker? It's not just about lining up and rushing the passer like a traditional edge rusher. It's about timing. It's about deception. It's about reading the play and striking in a flash. And Elliss has mastered it. ESPN's Barnwell highlighted Ellis's impact in what's called green dog situations, a term that sounds like jargon but actually captures Ellis's football IQ perfectly. When the running back he's covering stays into block instead of running a route, Elliss doesn't hesitate. He switches from coverage to attack in a heartbeat, inserting himself into the pass rush with ruthless efficiency. That's not just instinct, that's intelligence paired with aggression. And here's where things get spicy. ESPN's own advanced metrics give Elliss a 26.4% pass rush win rate when he's involved in at least 100 relevant plays, tied with Danielle Hunter and behind only Aiden Hutchinson. Let that marinate. We're talking about Elliss hanging statistically with the elite edge rushers of the game, despite being a middle linebacker. Not a situational rusher. Not a gadget guy. A starting linebacker doing this damage from a position where sack production is usually a bonus, not a requirement. Now, some might argue these stats are based on chip tracking tech embedded in shoulder pads, not film study. It's a fair point. There's skepticism about how precise these metrics really are. Maybe the chip says Elliss won a rep, but the ball was already out on the other side of the field. Still, even with that grain of salt, a near top-of-the-league pass rush win rate doesn't just happen by accident. These numbers suggest something real. Elliss consistently finds ways to disrupt plays. And it's not just a one-season wonder. Over the past 2 years, when the threshold is raised to 150 plays, Elliss still sits fourth in the entire NFL with a 23.6% pass rush win rate. That's consistency. That's reliability. That's someone offenses have to plan for and often fail to stop. But here's where the narrative gets even more interesting for Falcons fans. Over the past 2 seasons, Elliss wasn't just excelling, he was compensating. Atlanta lacked consistent edge pressure, forcing defensive schemes to get creative. Enter Elliss, bearing the brunt of a role that asked him to do more than what's typical for his position. And he delivered. But now, the script might change. With new blood in the pass rush department, James Pierce, Leonard Floyd, Jalen Walker, there's hope that Atlanta won't need to lean so heavily on Elliss to generate pressure. What does that mean for Kaden's role? That's the million-dollar question. Does defensive coordinator Raheem Morris scale back Ellis's blitzes? Use him more in coverage? Allow him to roam and read instead of launching him into the backfield? Could we see a more balanced attack where the edge defenders handle the heat, freeing Ellis to elevate other parts of his game? Imagine it. By week 7, the Falcons are hovering around 16th in sacks, a big leap from 32nd a year ago. Suddenly, you don't need Ellis blitzing every third down. You can keep him home, trust the edge guys, and maybe even drop him into coverage more often. It's a strategic shift with long-term implications. Ellis might not rack up as many highlight reel sacks, but he could become even more valuable in the overall scheme. And we haven't even touched on the psychological effect his presence creates. If you're an interior offensive lineman and you see Pierce and Walker screaming off the edge, the last thing you want is to look up and see Ellis storming right down the gut. It forces a decision. Who do you block? That's a nightmare scenario. And when you've got two legit threats on the edge and a heat-seeking linebacker blitzing up the middle, somebody's getting through. Every time. So here's what we want to know from you. What do you think Kaden Ellis's role should be in 2025? Should the Falcons keep feeding him blitz opportunities, or scale back and use him more dynamically across the field? Drop a comment below. And as we dig deeper into what Kaden Ellis means for the Falcons' defense, it becomes clear his role isn't just about individual stats. It's about what his presence allows everyone else to do. In years past, Atlanta's pass rush has been generous, to say the least. Quarterbacks had time. Too much time. Drives stayed alive. Points piled up. But Ellis brought urgency, intensity, and unpredictability. He forced offenses to adapt, often unsuccessfully. Now imagine pairing that same disruptive energy with actual edge pressure. With James Pierce Jr. potentially breaking into the rotation, Leonard Floyd adding veteran presence, and Jalen Walker bringing speed and versatility, Atlanta might finally have the right mix to let its front breathe. Instead of throwing the kitchen sink at every third down, Raheem Morris can get creative, pick his blitz spots, disguise intentions, and keep offenses guessing. What happens when teams don't know if Ellis is coming or not? That's when the magic starts. Offenses hesitate. Blocking assignments falter. Quarterbacks start second-guessing. And that's when mistakes happen, turnovers, sacks, lost yardage. That's how games change. Ellis doesn't just get sacks, he tilts the field. And that's what makes him special. The real question for 2025 isn't whether he'll produce. It's how his evolution will amplify the rest of the defense. And now we want to hear from you, Falcons Nation. Are you all in on Ellis keeping the heat on quarterbacks, or do you see him stepping into a more balanced role with this revamped defense? Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tell us in the comments, how do you see Kaden Ellis shaping the Falcons' identity this season? Let's talk about it. Go Falcons!